All right, this is Pure PhD here,
And this is Mudita Hard here.
and we're talking about Wells Interactive's The Complex.
Wells Interactive's The Complex. That's right. What is... That's right. Thank you for that cue there, Pure PhD. Sorry, that was a little...
so funny?
It's because I guess it was a little unexpected. That's right, Pure PhD. We were like a little stiff before, and I was like, yeah,
there you
that's
go.
right. Anyway.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
some acting lessons there.
Anyway, okay, now that we're loosened up for the podcast, let's continue.
There you go, yeah.
So, Wells Interactive's The Complex. What is it about? The general summary is that you're a woman who works for a bio nanotech company that is developing this new serum, this new technology that gets injected into people. And there's like a lot of mysterious things happening around it where like, oh, it might be getting out. And there's like, they're investigating espionage and international conflict and like all kinds of things inside this complex where the technology was
It's
originally
life
developed.
and death stakes. You have to stop the world from getting destroyed.
You have to stop the world from getting destroyed. You're also trying to help your employer save money and stuff like that. Because it's big pharma or whatever.
There you go, yeah.
Stuff like that. And then there's also a side plot with like mysterious people trying to kill you and you're like, what's going on there?
Yeah, it's like a mystery, yeah.
Yeah, and most of it takes place inside this complex.
Yeah.
That's like hermetically sealed or whatever because it's like, bio.
You can't let the bio stuff get out, yeah.
Yeah. And this is by Wells Interactive. They've done a number of other... And this, to note, this is an FMV game. So it's all done with like cinematic footage. They filmed with live footage with live actors. And and that's already something that we're talking about right there. But and this is like maybe one of their like their fifth game or something. And it was released in 2020. Interesting timing on that. And it's on multiple platforms. It's on like every platform pretty much. Like Mac, PC, Windows PC.
I figured it was going to be on Sony only.
It's on Sony, PS4, Xbox One, Android, iOS, Nintendo Switch. It's on all those platforms. So I'm really surprised I didn't hear about this game. But and PRPHD has already played it on Twitch. And
I've platinumed it.
Yeah, it was. We first heard about it through an Easy Platinum guide or something.
Oh, it looks like it was a good game. It was like pretty cheap.
Yeah, there's some...
I was like, there's hype about Erica and stuff, so I was like, okay, I'll try an FMV game, yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like FMV games are just kind of getting better quietly without us realizing it.
Yeah.
And this kind of genre... And it's also in the genre of like choose-your-own-adventure branching narrative style game, too.
Yeah.
That's like kind of happening with like, Life is Strange or like
Telling Lies,
or like Dark Pictures Anthology and stuff like that. This is very much like reminded me of Dark Pictures Anthology.
Yeah.
And it also kind of has elements of like
Telltale and Last Stop and
Telltale,
whatever,
Last Stop, and also reminds me
Annapurna.
Also kind of reminds me of Annapurna. Also kind of reminds me of Black Mirror a little bit, which also had its own FMV game. So yeah.
Is the Black Mirror game itself an FMV game?
I'm pretty sure it was.
I haven't played it yet.
I haven't played it yet either. But
I have it downloaded on the PS4. Actually, I've never played it.
You can play it in Netflix. Actually, that's
Bandersnatch.
Yeah, Bandersnatch. Yeah.
This is another game that I think isn't Bandersnatch.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, now we're just talking about Bandersnatch. But anyway, let's talk about The Complex. So where to start, really?
It's No Time to Die, and it was released. I don't know. I thought it was developed in like 2017, but they had the worst possible time to release the game because it was like 2020 according to like the Wikipedia or something. And like there's a plot that's basically about bioterror, much like No Time to Die.
Yeah, and I think it does a pretty good job in the storytelling department. It's like it's kind of hard to follow, admittedly, at times, and it actually gets kind of confusing depending on which branch you go along.
I like that you're allowed to like pause in this game, unlike with late shift. So like, if you need a breather, you can take a breather.
Right. We played two Wales Interactive games.
Yeah.
First, we played Late Shift. I was watching Pure PhD's playthrough of Late Shift, and then while he was playing it, and then we played The Complex. and similarly, and yeah, the complex seemed like it had better like quality of life things. So like you could
And higher production values,
yeah.
but less locations, and the reverse for Late Shift.
Right, but it has a higher concept kind of sci-fi plot.
Oh,
also.
definitely, yeah.
And just in comparison, and it also has more quality of life things, like you can skip chapters and jump around, because like if you've done a chapter before, you can skip ahead if you want to go straight to another branch and stuff. So pretty cool game.
I mean, that's pretty important, because like otherwise a platinum that takes you like 4 to 7 hours will take you like 14 hours without the skips.
Yeah,
because like the game's about 1 hour 20, 1 hour 40 minutes the first playthrough, whereas like Late Shift, like the whole playthrough is like only 40 minutes.
right. So those are like really objective facts about like how the game like functions and stuff. But like, how is the overall experience? Like, why bother playing it? Like, what's fun about it and stuff like that? Let's talk about that a little bit.
I don't know what you get in the story about it. I like the story better than Late Shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, more. Late Shift has some technical stuff too. It had some. Both have issues with the script, but like, the technical side, I felt like Complex was more technical, and even Late Shift was technical, and I like the ending. Even though there's like multiple endings.
I feel like there's a few like main canonical endings in this.
Yeah, like could be multiverse thing, or I don't know, but like
yeah,
they sort of like doing the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is in the vein of like, you know, even branching narrative games in like, you know, Flash game era or like 90s.
Or like the YouTube choose your
games.
branches, yeah.
Or like adventure games from like the 90s or whatever.
Or choose your adventure books, yeah.
Yeah, or like, you know, the game Adventure from the 80s or something. So yeah, it goes all the way back to there. Yeah, let me see, where do we even go from here? I mean, it's still pretty much doing that same kind of formula of like, okay, you don't know where you're going to go in this branch, but it's interesting to explore that. And, oh, this can lead to a dramatic conclusion. Or like it reminds me of like when you're reading like a young Indiana Jones Choose Your Own Adventure literal book. You're like, oh, Indiana Jones is now living out in the wilds of Africa because he's stuck there now forever. Or something like that. You just end up in some random branch like that, and it's just, well, this doesn't seem like the real ending, but okay, let me try again and turn back a few pages or whatever.
Clue the movie, 1985.
Clue the movie in 1985. They're branching there,
yeah.
But yeah, why does it work? Well, it works on the same level that those things work. Is that like it has very dramatic storytelling branches where like you actually are trying to predict, okay, how am I going to like get out of here alive? How am I going to serve the interests of like the people who are like trying to get something from me? How am I going to try and like save the world at the same time also? Or maybe I don't save the world and just get myself killed by accident or something like that, which kind of happens sometimes.
So, yeah,
not to get into it too much, but
I feel like that was like me and Rancho Pranzo's playthrough of Life is Strange 2. We just personally got everyone killed and like playthrough of that.
Yeah. And yeah, you can just like make some really big mistakes and stuff like that. I guess there's a nice shout out to your friend there.
Yeah.
So your Twitch friend there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and like the acting is really good. The cinematography is pretty good, and like yeah, the acting is like really. I was really surprised by the acting. I felt like I couldn't criticize the acting at all.
No.
Usually when I think of FMV games, the acting is like, oh, they got some like second rate actors who are like, you know, just phoning it in, or like, oh, this is just a video game. But no, this feels like it's like, wow, this is like they got professional actors that like would be in Hollywood or even in a Black Mirror episode or something. And like they're really giving their all.
I forgot about your little Black Mirror. These look like Black Mirror.
I don't know why I say that. Like I don't know if it's just because
of Bandersnatch.
I don't know if it's just because of Bandersnatch or just because they're British or because it's a sci-fi plot or something.
Sci-fi plot, right?
I don't know.
I think you said the same thing about Late Shift also.
I said that about Late Shift too, even though it's
I
not
guess
a
like
sci-fi
I guess
plot.
the whole beginning is like, oh, infinite possibilities.
Yeah, I don't know. Just like the delivery of like how it's dramatic and the cinematography and the lighting also may be a factor too. I don't know what it is about it. I might just be saying that. It might not necessarily be true or whatever, but there's something about it just reminds me of it. And yeah, like I can't criticize the acting. There's like a lot of good dramatic moments in this story.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the main characters, Claire, is like not to get into it too much, but like basically she's inside this tube most of the time because she's sick, and like even though she's mostly in there, she's like really funny, while also showing she's in huge pain at other moments, while also showing incredible humanity in other moments. Like, she's acting her heart out, even though she's barely moving a muscle.
Yeah.
And then all the other actors are really doing well, too, like the protagonist.
I guess give her the Oscar, right? She's like, she's basically in a wheelchair the whole film, even though she doesn't have to be. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, so best supporting actress or whatever, you know. Speaking of Oscars, I guess.
Yeah, that'll be another podcast.
It's another podcast right there.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And we also did watch Coda this week, just a side note. So that might also be its own
this little promotion thing there. Yeah.
So maybe stay tuned for that.
Yep.
But Claire's really good. And then the other guy, I forgot his name.
Which of our
Reggie? I don't know.
It sounds like that, or feels like a Rao or Raph or something.
Some weird name.
It's for a short name.
Ralph. It's not Ralph. It's definitely not Ralph.
Sorry about not being professional, but we're having fun here.
It's also a problem because, like, there's no Wikipedia article for this game. And, like, when I went to Wikipedia for this game, it just went to Wales Interactive's Wikipedia. And it didn't have a plot summary for this game. That's how little buzz this game got. That's what we're
really,
doing.
really, no one talked about this game at all.
Nobody talked about it
It's not on IGN or anything.
Oh, there's not even a review by IGN?
I didn't look it up. I don't know. I want to look for it. I don't look at IGN.
Oh, okay.
I don't think, like, Yahtzee's like, oh.
This is I never heard of this at all, but like I was like really surprised to see how well put together this game was.
Yeah, there's like
it's
cool, like cool classic games on the PS4 and stuff.
Yeah, is there even a cult following for this game? Because that implies that there's a group of people who follow it.
Probably just the Easy Platinum people, yeah.
Yeah. And something I just learned about Wales Interactive, just like when I was looking at their Wikipedia, apparently they're the people behind a game called Gamer Girl, which like drew a lot of ire online because like it's like the trailer seemed to like invoke a lot of imagery of like online harassment of like women streamers on the internet. So like that drove a lot of controversy. And it seemed exploitative how they were making the trailer and like kind of triggering for a lot of people. So, yeah, Wales Interactive, you know, they still have to work a little bit on their sensitivity issues on stuff.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah,
but that being said, like, you know, I played when we were playing this game. We were like, oh, this is an alright game. This is like well put together. So I could see how they were like able to like, and they've made multiple games at this point. So I can see how they were like getting more ambitious, but like maybe got in over their heads with that game there. But like it seems like it just keeps growing in scope. Lead Shift was a smaller scope than this game in a lot of ways. And then like I think a game before that called The Bunker you mentioned was like maybe like
everyone hated that game apparently from what I heard of like people.
Apparently like it was just terrible overall, but like I guess they were figuring out a lot of stuff.
They're like, wow, Lead Shift's such a great game. Well, like we didn't think that way.
Production wise, you might think like, oh, when you're you might like work on something like The Bunker on a smaller budget just to figure out the processes of things. So the next game after that could be done a lot better. And it seems like maybe on iteration they're doing better from like Late Shift to like a Complex. But which is dealing with like a lot of heady stuff.
It's like probably 13 to 15 the 7 remake, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually like a lot. It's an iterative process. They're doing a lot of experimental stuff. They're exploring a lot of interesting ideas in the Complex. Late Shift was a little more of a traditional kind of like, you know, dramatic heist story.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, this story is actually involving like more sci-fi plot, more international intrigue and espionage and stuff. So it actually is like dealing and balancing with a lot of different kinds of storytelling. But I guess maybe they took a step back accidentally with Gamer Girl there, but yeah, I don't know. The Complex is a pretty cool game and it's worth checking out to get an idea, if anything, to see how they came to the point of like doing something like their later work. But It's definitely seems like worth checking out, and it's like an underrated thing because, I don't think I've seen something like it, in recent memory quite like it.
Yeah, on to the comparisons with Late Shift and the Complex in terms of narrative. I feel like Late Shift has the plot twist in the beginning, whereas the Complex has it in the end, which is a very interesting way of playing around with like all these scripts they're using, drafting and stuff.
Yeah, it's tough enough to make these games, but they have to also make really original scripts every time they do these. They have to like completely throw it all out, and then they do it again, and they have to film all the different shots.
They have to do it on location.
They have to do it on location.
They don't use. They use very minimal green screen.
Yeah, there's like minimal green screen. A lot of it's on location.
I mean,
like they use a lot of practical.
That's
like
all
practical sets.
So that's like reverse of like Hollywood now.
Real actors. A lot of it comes from the acting. A lot of it comes from like really minimal.
They don't really use CGI actors, like the Clone Wars and episode 2 or something.
Yeah, they don't really have props really. Not really.
We'll get into that on Late Shift.
Yeah, but there's definitely something to say about the props in Late Shift.
Yeah,
but they have like kind of like generic science lab stuff and.
The science lab stuff looks pretty accurate, complex. Actually. That looks pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Like, when they're doing the exterior shots of the R&D facility in the complex, it looks like, okay, they found a pretty good location for this. And, like, I don't know, that just feels really cool in, like, a video game, whereas, like, in a lot of video games, you don't see something like that very often.
I mean, I'm pretty sure when they use the needles, like, the needle doesn't actually go into the person's arm. It's just, like, is on the side or something.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. There's things like that. And, like the blood transfusion stuff in the game, right? Just start an ice cream truck. We gotta pause. Okay. I think we gotta pause this.
All right, be right back. All right, this is Pure PhD here,
and this is Mudita Hard here,
and we're talking about Wells Interactive's The Complex.
Wells Interactive's The Complex. That's right. What is? That's right. Thank you for that cue there, Pure PhD. Sorry, that was